Graham Plattner is Maine's Mamdani. I mean, he's brought in the Mamdani team to support his campaign. He's out doing a lot of work with socialist groups. He's advocating for socialist policies. He's a Bernie bro who's been a big supporter of Bernie Sanders. What we're seeing here is the exporting of the Mamdani ideology and team into the state of Maine because they think that they can gain ground in a small state where things aren't as expensive. Mr. Plattner is not what he appears. He is, openly said these things. We see the transcripts and things that he said, and he's a socialist, just like we see in New York. Right in his campaign announcement, he declares that wealthy people are the enemy, and then goes on to talk about all of the cost of living crisis that Maine faces, which was created by Democrats. He goes on to rail against that, just like what we see Mamdani doing in New York. It's clearly the New York playbook, and they brought that Mamdani approach to the state of Maine. They found somebody willing, a willing socialist to step up and be on the ballot, and now they're going to try to do the same thing to Maine that they're trying to do to New York in the U.S. Senate race. Well, what I've been saying is that this would be a really great approach for somebody who wanted to run for the Portland City Council. It's really, apparently an exciting approach. This approach that Plattner is taking, the Mamdani approach, is something that seems to be appealing to very, very liberal progressive Democrats and socialists in the cities. We don't believe that there's any traction that will be gained in rural Maine where people are struggling. Like I discussed previously, we have a cost of living crisis, and they've created it, and now he's going to try to campaign against it. He might trick some Portland progressives into that, but it's not probably going to be very, very good with rural voters. You can look through Graham Plattner's donor history, and you can see that he donated to Harris for President, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar. And I think that what they're doing is they're sort of rallying together. They're fellow travelers, and they're trying to find the right people for the right spots. If common sense Democrats and then the leadership like Chuck Schumer don't do something and say, that isn't the future of our party, they can run in a bunch of these races, and we're going to beat them. I mean, that's how it's going to have to go, and then they'll have to go back and reflect after. But it's either going to be that, or Democrats are going to choose the socialist path, the open socialist path, and just let the veil slip and admit who they are. It's a double-edged sword for Democrats, because on one hand, they can't win anything without bringing the extreme left into their coalition. There are reports out today. Somebody analyzed L2 data and showed that across the country, Democrat voter registration is collapsing. They can't succeed in winning elections without the extreme wing of their party, but they've created a monster that they don't have the ability to control. And in the long run, it's going to be catastrophic for them. I mean, Graham Plattner advocates for allowing men to be in girls in women's sports, and he advocates for all sorts of extreme policies that are very, very unpopular. The Democrats can't say anything to stop that or to change direction, because somewhere, I don't know, a third or more of their base believes in that. So they've created this situation. They brought those socialists and the extremists in, and now they don't know what to do with them. But in the end, it's going to end very badly, because the tail is wagging the dog, and the tail is about to become the dog, I think.
The latest addition to the pool of Democrats seeking to challenge Senator Susan Collins, our Maine, is doubling down on Zoran Mamdani-style socialism, says the chief of Maine's Republican Party. Democrat Graham Plattner launched his campaign highlighting his history as an Army and Marine veteran, as well as an oyster farmer. But state GOP chief Jason Savage told Fox News Digital that rural accolades aren't policy positions. He pointed to Plattner's hiring of a top Mamdani advisor, Morris Katz, to produce his campaign launch video. In that video, Plattner rails against the oligarchy and endorses universal health care. His website features messaging that claims the U.S. has a billionaire economy, and that, if elected, Plattner would view it as a key part of his job to dismantle it. Graham Plattner is Maine's Mamdani, Savage told Fox News Digital in an interview. He brought in the Mamdani team to support his campaign. He's out doing a lot of work with socialist groups. He's a Bernie bro. What we're seeing here is the exporting of the Mamdani ideology to the state of Maine, because they think that they can gain ground in a small state where things aren't as expensive, he added. You can look through Graham Plattner's donor history and you can see that he donated to Harris for president, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, he continued, arguing that far-left candidates are a major threat to the Democratic Party. Plattner's campaign did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Fox News Digital. If common-sense Democrats and then the leadership like Senator Chuck Schumer don't do something and say that isn't the future of our party, then they're going to run in a bunch of these races. And we're going to beat them, he said. Savage argued that the Democratic Party's embracing of the far left is a double-edged sword. He said Democratic candidates can't succeed without the extreme wing of the party. And now they've created a monster that they don't have the ability to control. In the long run, it's going to be catastrophic for them. I mean, Graham Plattner advocates for allowing men to be in girls' and women's sports, Savage said. He advocates for all sorts of policies that are very, very unpopular, and the Democrats can't say anything to stop that. The Democratic challenger list against Collins is growing, and reports say those already in office are trying to tap Janet Mills, the state's 77-year-old Democratic governor, for the seat. Republicans currently control the majority of the Senate by a 53-47 margin. Democrats would need to flip 4 seats in the 2026 midterm elections to take the majority. A spokesperson for Collins told Fox News Digital that Plattner is just another progressive entering the race.